to round 1 of the WMSC 3 World Tour, a junior single-seater series on Automobilista 1. In the following video, we will not only show you the highlights from the opening round at Lime Rock Park, but also tell you all about the teams, drivers, and the concept behind the WMSC 3 World Tour. So, let's get started. The WMSC 3 World Tour is a junior series that is part of the IBOSS umbrella. IBOSS, short for the International Board of Sim Racing, is essentially a sim racing governing body in the vein of something like the FIA. And as part of that ever-growing umbrella, the World Monoposto Sim Racing Championship, or WMSC, is going to be the big Grand Prix World Championship of said umbrella in 2023. But to find talented sim racers and prepare them for such a big undertaking, this championship has been conceptualized as a bit of a preview for both the WMSC and its associated junior series that are also going to be starting in 2023. Each race is going to represent a different continent, and every track is going to offer up a different and unique challenge for the drivers involved. These are all the teams and drivers for the WMSC 3 World Tour. Due to time constraints, let's have a quick look at the favorites for the first round at Lime Rock Park. Costech are a well-renowned team in the world of sim racing. All three drivers have already competed in the American Monoposto Championship 2022 and are therefore well equipped with how the RSL operates. In terms of raw pace, Max Heyman will definitely be the Costech favorite for the WMSC 3 World Tour, and we had a chance to talk to him ahead of the season opener.
Ja, am Ende muss man sagen, dass aufgrund der Erwartungen meinerseits die AMC-Saison natürlich sehr unglücklich war. Ich bin natürlich mit der Erwartung reingegangen, um die Meisterschaft mitzufahren. Am Ende, glaube ich, war ich Vierter oder Fünfter, deswegen sehr enttäuschend. Aber natürlich mit dem Sieg im letzten Rennen kann man was Positives mitnehmen und sollte Anreiz geben, in der nächsten Saison wieder voll anzugreifen. Die WMSC 3 habe ich mir ehrlich gesagt jetzt die Erwartungen zurückgeschraubt und versuche erstmal einfach die Leistung auf die Strecke zu bringen und dann zu schauen, was geht. Die Konkurrenz natürlich mit Lorenzo Turi ist sehr groß, er scheint sehr stark zu sein. Und bei Aaron Smith hat man auch in der AMC gesehen zum Schluss, dass er sehr schnell ist, sehr viel Potenzial hat. Ja, und die zwei werden sehr schwer zu schlagen sein.
Bravo is the Brazilian team consisting of Gabriel Peckley and Victor B, with both of them showing incredible pace throughout preseason testing. Peckley has already shown his potential as part of the American Monoposto Championship, but Victor B is going to make his RSL debut at Lime Rock Park. The odds-on favorite in preseason testing has been the Italian Lorenzo Turi for Mistral. His pace so far has been absolutely astounding, and essentially it's a matter of whether he can back up his preseason qualifying pace and race trim. Also, people shouldn't underestimate people like Gino Gaggiano racing for SCMM, Aaron Smith racing for Lightning Engineering, Aaron Curtis racing for Turismo Autosport, or the three Streamline boys. With that out of the way, let's have a quick look at Lime Rock Park itself for the opening round of the WMSC 3 World Tour. Lime Rock Park is a 1.5-mile track which seems rather simple at first glance. The track, located in Lakeville, Connecticut, only consists of 7 corners, though that doesn't mean that it's particularly easy. Especially the first 2 turns, as well as the uphill stretch after T4, and the West Bend have cost drivers loads of issues in preseason testing. When it comes to overtaking other drivers, Turn 1 and Turn 2 seem to be the most obvious places, though we're curious to see whether there are other spots on track where people manage to overtake. Alright then, pole position for Lorenzo Turi. Behind him, Victor B in a great second place, great debut for Bravo. Gabriel Peckley in third, Dominic Kronsky in a fantastic fourth, Thomas Krapp with a successful debut for Streamline in fifth, Roy Seifert in sixth for Back Row Motorsport, ironically enough, Gino Gaggiano in seventh, Daniel Benton-Reeder in eighth, Hugh Hamill in ninth, Mark Wittman in 10th, Bartosz Capetta, the third Streamline car, in 11th, right behind one of his teammates, Simon Core in a disappointing 12th, Zomberith in 13th, Philip Feckler in 14th, Adam Brzezinsko in 15th, Lucas Hamilton in 16th for Back Row, so none of the Back Row cars are actually starting on the back row of the grid, funnily enough. Juho Czeko-Sopanen in 17th, Matthew Oboyski in 18th, Gwendolyn Cole in 19th, and Max Heyman, who didn't participate in qualifying, is starting right at the back of the field. Again, somewhat funny that none of the back row cars are actually starting at the back of the grid, but I digress. Max Heyman is going to start from 20th position. Certainly interesting considering that he was one of the quickest guys in preseason testing. Two of the quickest people from preseason testing, Victor B and of course Lorenzo Arturo, are starting on the front row. Again, wonderful to see, you know, new people coming into this series and being in a pretty good position pace-wise right now. You can see all the cars lining up. 20 cars in the grid for the opening round of the WMSC 3 World Tour, the very first event with the focus all on the International Board of Sim Racing. And away we go, 60 minutes plus 1 lap, and a great start from Lorenzo Turi. Absolutely incredible getaway. Behind him, Peckley fighting with his teammate. Multiple cars in the back. You can see Kronsky there. Peckley in second, B in third. The Bravo swapping. Seifert in fourth, Kronsky in fifth. Behind him, Crab and Gaggiano. Bettenrieder in eighth, seemingly. Everybody filing through right now. As you can see right now in the tower, Turi, Peckley, B. Seifert, Kronsky in sixth. Crab and Gaggiano. You can see Gaggiano in 7th for Essien, and behind him Benton-Reader, Bartosz Krpeta, and then Hugh Hamill rounding out the top 10, at least for now. You can see Gaggiano spinning beneath the tunnel, and there's a big incident already. We've not even finished the first lap, and a big collision between multiple cars. We're going to have a look at that in the replay in just a second. Let's look at what happened. Let's look at it from the onboard of Gino Gaggiano. Going out wide just a bit, getting on the grass, doing a 360, 720, maybe even a 1080 if you will. Didn't lose his front or rear wing, but it certainly caused a massive accident behind him. As you can see from Max Heyman's perspective, he's able to evade some of it, but then collides with who seems to be Zomber-Reith in the green car for Lightning. And it looked as if Zomber-Reith might have done a bit of a Ricardo Rosset, if you will, Spa 1998, just barging into the collision. Didn't get off the throttle, and as we can already tell you, he will get penalized for this after the race. Multiple cars involved in the incident, some of the Streamline boys, Vippen and Krpeta, as well as Hugh Hamill. As we're about to see right here, you can also see Lucas Hamilton going off in the background, another back row car. And as you can see, Hugh Hamill tried to avoid the entire situation, didn't quite manage to do it. And therefore an awful start for two of the three back row motorsports cars. But then again, Roy Seifert is in a great fourth place after the first lap. Lorenzo Turi is still in the lead ahead of Gabriel Peckley in second, Victor B in third, Seifert in fourth, Kronsky in fifth. And as you can see from P7 onwards, Benton-Reader, Wittmann, Kor, Sopanen, only points for the top 8. Krpeta dropped back a bit, but then again, he's still in the race, and you can see Victor B spinning. Loses his front wing, and that might spell the end to his race, though it looks as if he's able to continue, which certainly makes sense considering that if a safety car is deployed in any way, shape, or form, he would be in a position to gain back, possibly not multiple positions, but he would be able to catch back up to the field. And considering his pace, that would be crucial for Bravo. Now look at that fight between Checo Sopanen and Philip Fekler behind him for a points position. Might be for 8th or 9th at this point. Difficult to keep everything in view. Fekler trying to go around the outside of Sopanen. Doesn't quite work. Behind him, Krpeta still trying to overtake Heyman as well, already in a pretty good position considering he started right from the back. Look at Krpeta fighting with Fekler. We're looking at it from Sopanen's onboard, and great maneuver it seems from Krpeta. Beating and banging between these two. And Krpeta's now ahead of both of the Kostek boys. Opoyski behind him. Great start so far as well from Daniel Benton-Reader, I'd like to point out, who's ahead of both Max Heyman and Philip Fekler, which a lot of people didn't expect, at least to my knowledge. Lorenzo Turi is still in the lead of the race. Gabriel Peckley behind him in second. A few gaps opening up, if you will. Seifert now in third. Incredible. Kronsky in fourth. Great as well. Crab. And then, as I mentioned, Daniel Benton-Reader in P6. He struggled a lot during the American Monoposto Championship 2022. We already showed you scenes or clips during the race at Montreal as well as Laguna Seca, and it looks as if he's gotten to grips much better with the WMSC 3 car, at least from what we can tell, considering he's now ahead of both Max Heyman and Philip Fekler, though again, remember, Max Heyman had to start from the back of the grid, but certainly still somewhat impressive from Daniel Benton-Reader. As we can see, Philip Fekler is still fighting with Juho Sopanen. Again, it would be important for all three Kostek boys to be in a good position for the team's championship. Only the two best cars are counted towards the team's point standings per race. As we can see, Fekler in 10th now, trying to overtake Sopanen, who's in 9th. Trying to go around the outside, both of them lapping Zomberith. Once again, Fekler trying to go around the outside and does so successfully. So Fekler now in 9th with a great overtake. As we alluded to earlier, one of the overtaking spots. Let's look at it from in the replay one more time. Great slow motion there. And let's have a quick listen in to the team radio from Mirablau and Juho Sopanen talking to his race engineer, if you will, if you want to call him a race engineer in this context.
That was quite aggressive. I almost got smashed into there.
Chase him, Checo. You must be known.
Well, actually, he was in P10, but let's look at the fight moving forward. Behind him, Max Heyman, of course. The other Kostek boy, and look at Fekler losing it up the hill!
Oh, he's been it.
Whoa, that was lucky.
Well, you're right there, Mr. Race Engineer. Philip Fekler spinning up the hill. Not the first time this has happened today. We remember Victor B losing his front wing, as well as Lucas Hamilton spinning at the beginning of the race, lap 1. Now Max Heyman directly behind him, as you can see Zomberith in the background. Again, very difficult track it seems for some of the drivers. That includes people like Gwendolyn Cole and Victor B who collide. Gwendolyn Cole sort of bumped out the way, if you will. Maybe B's a bit frustrated. Maybe there was a bit of miscommunication. Easy for me to say miscommunication there, as Victor B's letting Lorenzo Turi through. Also, we can see Lucas Hamilton struggling with his car. Another spin from the back row motorsports car. Remember, Zeifert's still in an incredible 3rd place on his RSL debut. Now, I'm not sure how much Hugh Hamilton would have struggled pace-wise, but it looked as if throughout the entire weekend, Lucas Hamilton had some issues regarding pace. And everything that happened on lap 1 certainly didn't help the Scotsman, as we see Max Heyman going off, bumping into the barrier. But it looks as if he's able to continue. Didn't lose a wheel, didn't lose a front wing, didn't lose his rear wing. But definitely disappointing in a way, considering that he won the last race of the American Monoposto Championship 2022. Again, remember, he started right at the back of the grid, but irrespective of that, not particularly a great performance so far, it seems, from Max Heyman. Lorenzo Turi is still in the lead ahead of Gabriel Pecklin. It looks as if there's a front wing lying around. Somebody went off there, I presume. That's Adam Rosinsko. Oh, let's look at what happened with Adam Rosinsko. One of the 3 Lightning cars. Again, same mistake that Gino Gaggiano made earlier. Wasn't quite able to keep it out of the barrier, losing his rear wing. And as you can see in the background, there's a Kostek car. That's Max Heyman having to take evading action. Almost bumping into Adam Rosinsko, though he's able to avoid him. And it's definitely been an incredibly chaotic race so far. And as we can see, Philip Fekler overtaking Max Heyman once again after his spin up the hill. It's been one hell of a strange day for the Kostek boys so far, and I assume it's only going to get stranger with every minute. Tour is still in the lead ahead of Peckley. Seifert in 3rd, Kronsky in 4th, finally showing some of his potential. Remember, Dominik Kronsky has been incredibly successful in his own F1 Challenge League, the CIR, multiple-time champion over there, but he seems to have struggled with the AMC cars over the past season, though it looks as if he's gotten to grips much better with the WMSC3 machinery. Great to see him finally seemingly fulfilling his potential, while Bartosz Krupeta is still trying to overtake Matthew Boyski. I think they're fighting for 10th at this point. 23 minutes to go in this race. Remember, the race length 30 minutes plus 1 lap in this competition. Bartosz Krupeta, also somebody who struggled a lot with the AMC cars over the past season, who seems to get to grips much better with this machinery, overtaking Matthew Boyski. He's now in 10th. Let's see if he can actually make up a few more places and get into the points. But as I'm saying that, another mistake by Bartosz Krupeta. Matthew Boyski bumps into him again. No safety car deployed, considering that both of them are able to continue. Going for a bit of a smooch there. Bit of a traffic jam that corner, it seems. with the front wing of Matthew Oboyski just flying about. Dominic Kronsky still in fourth, getting onto the grass a bit, but he keeps it in it. And wouldn't it be cool to see Dominic Kronsky? Oh, and there's a collision ahead of him! I think it was between Roy Seifert and, yep, Matthew Oboyski, and it looks as if Roy Seifert might have lost his front wing there. It's been an incredible debut so far from the German, but it looks as if that might have come to an end, at least for now. Yep, no front wing on that car. And that's a big disappointment considering Seifert was right up there pace-wise. Looked as if he wanted to lap Matthew Oboyski. Something went wrong there for sure. And now he's going to have to crawl back to the pits, have that front wing replaced, and that will be a big disappointment for Back Row Motorsport. Meanwhile, Friedrich still in the midfield, trying to catch back up after what we just saw. And he repeats the Gino Gaggiano mistake, if we might want to call it that, though he doesn't lose his rear wing. Gaggiano actually in 9th at this point, so he was able to make up quite a few places considering the huge amount of chaos that we've already seen throughout this race. Again, apologies for my lackluster English. English is not my first language. As we see what looks as if Friedrich having to let Juho Sopanen through. While Mark Mittman's in the midfield, getting onto the grass, possibly being blocked by Matthew Oboyski. Simon Core says, thank you very much, he's now ahead, I think in P6. Mittman will certainly be frustrated with that, and there's another collision between Simon Core and Matthew Oboyski. Another collision with Matthew Oboyski, Simon Core upside down. Actually looked quite similar to what happened with Lucas Hamilton and Matthew Oboyski. Core going to the left, assuming Matthew Oboyski would stay on the right, though that's not what happened. Big miscommunication there. Core can be happy and thankful that he's able to continue the race despite being on his flipping head. A big collision there. And it looks as if Matthew Oboyski has retired, though he didn't follow the protocol for doing so. 360 spin by Thomas Crabb. I'd like to give him extra points for that, but disappointingly, this is not Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. This is the World Monoposto Sim Racing Championship 3 World Tour. A bit of a tongue twister, that. And Daniel Bentenreiter, I'd like to point out, still in the points. Kept it consistent, kept his nose clean to my knowledge. No big mistakes from the Costech driver so far today. And again, if he can keep his nose clean, if he can keep everything clean, that will be a great result for Costech, especially considering that there were some murmurings, let's say, about whether he was going to show up for the first race of the season. Some internal conflict, it seemed, within Costech. Meanwhile, Dominic Kronsky, who's now in 3rd because of the Seifert collision. Let's not get confused by that. Seifert's already been lapped, so Dominic Kronsky still in 3rd. And again, it would be incredible for him to actually achieve that podium. Gabriel Peckley still in 2nd. Victor B right behind him, who, again, remember, has already been lapped, almost spins up the hill. But it would also be an incredible result for Gabriel Peckley, who wasn't there a lot. He didn't show up for a lot of races in the American Monoposto Championship, but when he did, he was certainly a contender, as we can see Friedrich going off in the background, and Lorenzo Turi with a dominant lead at this point. And we can see Gino Gaggiano going off in the background. Another spin at that corner. One of the 3 turns in this race where it seems as if people are struggling a lot. Maybe it's a lack of grip, I'm not sure. As we can also see Max Heyman going off once again. And we can see Lucas Hamilton spinning in kind. And as we can see Dominic Kronsky now in 3rd, and he's going off into the grass, which means Thomas Crabb is most likely going to go through. Now the Streamline driver is going to be in 3rd. Again, it's been an incredible debut from a few people so far. Lorenzo Turi first and foremost dominating the race, but also Thomas Crabb for Streamline. And Victor B, if he hadn't made that mistake up the hill. Roy Seifert as well, miscommunication with Matthew Oboyski right here. But Dominic Kronsky is able to continue. Again, it would be very important for him to get a points finish, to actually finish the race. Gets a bit of an oversteering moment there, but it would be incredibly important for Kronsky to achieve this. And maybe to prove to himself that he's capable of doing this, though, he spins up the hill. Similar mistake to what happened with Victor B and Lewis Hamilton multiple times this race. He doesn't lose a front wing, he doesn't lose a rear wing, though he has to let loads of people through, including Mark Wittmann, who's also actually had quite a solid debut so far for Streamline. That will be a big disappointment for Dominik Kronski, who's about to get lapped by Lorenzo Turi, funnily enough, which only shows how big of a pace advantage, how much of a pace advantage Lorenzo Turi has. Meanwhile, Simon Kor and Juho Sopanen fighting down the T1. Kor now ahead of Sopanen. Bit of a bump there, wouldn't you say? But both of them are able to continue. Great fights that we see here in the WMSC 3 World Tour debut at Lime Rock Park, excuse me. Where you can see Bartosz Krpeta smoking or vaping, depending on your preferences, ahead of them. Going up the hill once again. Again, Kor also with a bit of a chip on his shoulder after the American Monoposto Championship season. We can see Victor B about to unlap himself, while Bartosz Krpeta with another mistake going onto the grass. And again, remember, if there's a safety car deployed, Victor B might be in a great position to make up multiple positions once again if essentially the queue is allowed to catch up once again, but he spins on the grass! Loses multiple positions once again, or loads of time essentially. And he collides with Gino Gaggiano, and that spells the end to Victor B's race. And again, he doesn't follow the protocol. He simply retires without notifying the race stewards, which you're not allowed to do in the WMSC 3 World Tour, because if you notify the stewards that, yes, I intend to retire, there might be a safety car deployed. Ironically enough, the situation that he would have benefited from if he had been in a position to continue the race, while Gino Gaggiano now has to crawl back to the pits without a front wing, while Roy Seifert and Philip Fekler are fighting for position. Seifert outbraking Philip Fekler. Does so successfully, now the back row Motorsports driver ahead of the Costech driver. Again, pace-wise, it's been a great debut so far from Roy Seifert. Very disappointing to see whatever happened there between himself and Matthew Oboyski. I presume Oboyski will be somewhat criticized after the race for having multiple incidents at this exact corner. Or you can still see Gino Gaggiano's front wing lying around, as we can also see Max Heyman with another mistake. Again, it's not been a great day so far from Max Heyman. I'm not sure how much he practiced ahead of the opening round of the WMSC 3 World Tour, but again, he definitely has the pace to compete right at the front. He's shown that in preseason testing. But at the same time, as we can see Zombery spinning at that corner, I'm not sure how much he practiced. And remember, he started right from the back of the grid. Due to time constraints, he couldn't participate in qualifying. Meanwhile, Simon Kor letting Gabriel Packley through. Therefore, he makes a mistake. Gwendolyn Cole's going off in the background as well, as you can see right here. Losing some time. I think he might also lose a position right here to maybe Philip Fekler, I'm not particularly sure. But maybe not the debut that the Orosella admin had hoped for. As we can see, another mistake by Zombery. Again, also surprising to see Zombery struggle so much with these cars, because in F1 Challenge Leagues, he's also shown some great pace, similar to what I've talked about with Dominik Kronski, though it seems as if maybe Zombery still needs to get to grips with Automobilista as a game. I'm not particularly sure, but we'll certainly see in the races to come. Oh, we see another mistake, but Lewis Hamilton, he collides with Dominik Kronski! Almost bumps into the leader there. And it looks as if that might spell the end to Dominik Kronski's race, as we can see him slow down. Maybe the engine got damaged there, which means that this will be the very first safety car of the day. And it will certainly be interesting, considering that multiple people will be in a position to unlap themselves once again. But first, let's look at the replay there from Lorenzo Turi's perspective. And Jesus H. Christ, that was close. Let's look at it from Lewis Hamilton's perspective. Trying to let Dominik Kronski through up the hill, and then, yeah, just loses his car, bumps into the wall. Looks as if it's going to spell the end to his race, and it's just very unfortunate for Dominik Kronski, who had made a few mistakes before this, but again, incredibly unfortunate to see him having to retire because of this. And let's have a look at what's going to happen at the safety car restart, because during the safety car period, multiple people went into the pits, including Turi, Pekli, Wittmann, Feckler, Heyman, and Sopanen. And the reason we want to show you these standings is because these are the only people who are going to be on the lead lap. Every other car behind them, from P11 to P17 or 18, I think, are going to be at least one lap down, which means that we're going to focus on these 10 drivers, easy for me to say, fighting for the top 8 positions, including Thomas Crab, who is now in the lead of the race, because compared to Turi and Pekli, he decided not to go into the pits. He decided to go for track position. Therefore, he's now in a position where he might actually crown his debut with winning his very first race in the ORSL. Daniel Bentenrieder behind him in second. He also didn't go into the pits, and the restart is about to go green. We're about to go green. Thomas Grab with a great restart. Bentenrieder in second, Turi in third, Pekli in fourth with a bit of a gap. Cypher now back in fifth, funnily enough. As we can see, Bentenrieder defending against Turi. Hard but fair, you might argue. There's a great duel in the background. Cypher now ahead of Pekli. Pekli is able to do the switch back. Pekli now back and forth. Behind him, Wittmann. Looks as if, of course, still behind all of them. And again, remember, only points for the top 8 positions, as well as the fastest lap of the race and pole position. And it looks as if Turi is much faster than Bentenrieder, not only because of his pace in general, but also because he's on much fresher tires, as well as Pekli. And if I remember correctly, Wittmann behind them. You can see Core in the background. And once we go over the start-finish line, there's only 2 laps to go. And it looks as if Thomas Kraft might be in a great position to win his first race in the ORSL if he can defend against Daniel Bentenrieder, Lorenzo Turi, Gabriel Pekli, so on and so forth. Bentenrieder now, Turi having to defend against Gabriel Pekli, and Thomas Kraft spins out! I can't believe it! Thomas Kraft just chucking away a potential race victory in his debut in the WMSC 3 World Tour. I can't believe it. But again, Daniel Bentenrieder now in the lead. Wouldn't that be a great story if the man who struggled so much in the American Monoposto Championship would be able to win his first race in the WMSC 3 World Tour? And look at the calamity up the hill, multiple cars crashing into each other. Big calamity, absolutely absurd. And let's have a look at the replay to explain to you all what actually happened. First of all, Roy Seifert spinning up the hill. Meanwhile, Mark Wittmann and Gino Gaggiano are colliding. Gino Gaggiano trying to gain a lap back. Simon Core able to avoid Gino Gaggiano, while Hugh Hamill, well, he isn't. Thomas Grapp, who had just made the mistake we showed you, wasn't as well, bumping into a Costech car that seemingly looks like Philip Feckler. Core going back onto the track, which causes this bizarre collision between Juho Sopanen and Max Heyman. Heyman flipping upside down, though he's still able to continue. Heyman taking avoiding action because Simon Core was rather slow right ahead of him, because he essentially returned to the track in a manner which you could certainly criticize if you want to. Thomas Kraft, funnily enough, passing Max Heyman without a front wing. And this is the battle for P1. Final lap of the race. Behind them, loads of calamity, but Daniel Bentenrieder, Turi, and Pekli are still fighting for the lead. Turi on the inside, Bentenrieder in the middle, Pekli on the outside, and Turi's in the lead. Great duel between the three. Turi in the lead once again, Bentenrieder in second, Pekli in third. And remember, Pekli went for fresh tires as well. Now let's have a look at the replay once again. Turi on the inside, Bentenrieder in the middle, and Gabriel Pekli outside down the Sam Posey straight. Turi just keeping it on the inside, fresher tires, supposedly better pace. While Gabriel Pekli's on the outside of the whole situation, bumping into Bentenrieder, losing loads of momentum, but he might still be in a position to get P2 at least. Meanwhile, Philip Feckler and Simon Core still fighting. We're going to have a look at the specific positions in a second. But Feckler is staying ahead of Simon Core, at least for now, it seems. And it looks as if Lorenzo Turi is going to celebrate a great and dominant victory right now, while Gabriel Pekli and Daniel Bentenrieder are still bumping into each other on the final lap of the race. The Benton Reader gets onto the grass a bit. He doesn't repeat the Gino Gaggiano mistake, but for now, Lorenzo Turi on the start-finish straight is about to win the race. We're going to see a bump between Benton Reader and Peckley. Who's going to be in second? Peckley. Photo finish for P2 between Peckley and Benton Reader. But Lorenzo Turi, with an absolutely astounding performance, wins the opening round of the WMSC 3 World Tour. 12 points for Turi, 8 points for Peckley, 6 points for Daniel Benton Reader. And we're going to have a look at the standings in just a second, but what an incredible finish to the race. Unbelievable. And funnily enough, that's not the only crazy thing that happened on the final lap. Let's have a look at this weird battle between Mark Wittmann and Roy Seifert. Neither of them having a front wing on their car, but stretching it to the line, both of them. Both of them spinning after the start-finish line, and after this bizarre, chaotic, entertaining, and certainly memorable first round of the WMSC 3 World Tour, let's have a look at the result and also at the championship standings. Lorenzo Turi wins ahead of Gabriel Peckley. Daniel Benton Reader finishes third. Again, great rebound from his American Monoposto Championship season. Philip Feckler finishes in fourth after a chaotic race for him. Simon Kors somehow ends up in fifth. Max Heyman still ends up in sixth. Roy Seifert in 7th, Mark Wittmann, the final point scorer, in 8th, Juho Sopanen in 9th, Thomas Crabb rounds out the top 10. Funnily enough, Thomas Crabb didn't finish the race because maybe he didn't realize that the race length was counted as 30 minutes plus 1 lap. Hugh Hamill in 11th, Gino Gaggiano in 12th, then Reith, Corpetta, Cole, Kronsky, Hamilton, B, Rosinsko, and Matthew Oboyski. In the Drivers' Championship, Lorenzo Turi now has 12 points because not only did he win the race, but he also started from pole position and he got the fastest lap of the race. In the Teams Championship, Mistral is 1 point ahead of Costech Racing. Again, only the 2 best drivers per race get counted towards the Teams Championship. Bravo in 3rd, C2F Racing in 4th, Backrow Motorsports in 5th, and Streamline Engineering in 6th with only 1 point, which might be a bit disappointing considering that all 3 Streamline drivers had a certain amount of pace throughout the entire race week. And with that being said, let's look forward to the next race of the season, the South American race at Buenos Aires. I hope you'll either participate in the second round of the championship on October 1st, or you'll continue to follow us on YouTube, support the project, tell your friends about it, all that good YouTube stuff, I guess. Until then, thank you for watching. My name is Simon Kor. Couldn't have done this without people like Adrian Friedrich. Big shout out to him for not only providing us with a theme song, but also the graphics that you've seen on display today. And until next time, keep racing.